Okay, I'm back. So, good morning, everyone, and it's great to be here talking about e-government. I wish I could have been there in person because it'd be great to see all fellow colleagues in the industry. I'm presuming that everyone can hear me. And if I'm able to share my screen, I'll just share sort of a quick presentation. Currently, I'm barred for being able to share my screen. So if the person controlling can allow me to do that, that would be fantastic. Well, I'm hearing a lot of echo in the background, and okay. Should I be able to share my screen, please?
You can continue, sir.
Okay. Good. I can now. So I hope everyone is able to see my screen.
Yes.
Great. All right. So thanks very much to be here. Delighted to be here to be speaking at the event. I was talking about promoting e-government in election year for improved governance. So just quick one. It's not about OADC, but open access data centers, what it is. Everyone's normally in a different life. I've been in this role now for about 3 months, just over. Thereabouts. Open access data centers was established 2018.
Hello, Doctor. Can you
increase
the volume from your side? Let's see if it's because we can barely hear you.
Can you hear me better now? Okay. So it's investing over 500 million of 5 years around Africa. We've got a flagship data center in Lekki coming alive. It landed the Aquino cable in Lagos, landing Aquino cable in Cape Town as well, and Durban, the 2 Africa cable, and over 30 facilities at the edge in South Africa. We're building the same in Nigeria. It's interesting building out this capability across Africa, and is building out digital infrastructure that enables solutions that also enable e-government. It's Africa-based, Africa-funded, Africa expanding, and Nigeria is a key location in addition to South Africa. And we're growing in other countries as well. In particular, DRC is coming in early next year. So that's OADC. So it's not about that. I'll talk about a few things about enabling technologies that will make e-government work, and just very quick around some stuff around the digital hierarchy and why. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Excellent. So as a quick one, e-government, we know, we've got a lot of experts in e-government here. I got this off Wikipedia, actually, just to get something that's generic. Use of technology to provide public services to citizens and other persons in a country or region. There's something else I assert, that CRM in this context is not necessarily customer relationship management. It's actually citizen relationship management. It's really around a whole range of things you put together around citizen relationship management. And it all comes together with respect to elections. So it isn't just what's a solution for elections around e-government. It's a whole journey. And if you look at it, it's a long journey over many elections. So it's not election year, this one, it's election years. That's what I'm sort of highlighting here. And there are a variety of things that come together. If you think about it in the core of security, right? You have to have solutions that work. Citizens are just like customers. If you put something in place that doesn't work, they get tired about it, they won't adopt it. The whole usage experience of everything has to work, treating them like customers, right? So around this, you have a whole range of solutions now that we have to bring together. One, identity. If you use, say, fingerprinting, that has its own issues with respect to recognizing fingers and stuff like that, then in time it becomes a problem. We need to adopt new technologies like finger vein, for instance, that overcomes some of the issues of fingerprinting. And then you balance it up by getting the right devices in place. You've got the security identity management in all of that. You've got the customer interface management and the use of a whole range of technologies to enable the whole experience of e-government. So it's a holistic thing. And I think the fundamentals are there right now. Just very, very quickly, if we look at the journey we've gone through in the world and how quickly things are changing, I use this for context. I've used it a few times. First industrial revolution took us about over 100 years to go from the first to the second industrial revolution of mass production. Then we had digital with all the mainframes and everything coming through in 1969, with computing, mobile telephony coming through right up to around about 2005. And we've been talking about 4IR for some time now. And if you notice the time compression, we've gone 100 years, just under 100 years to the next one in 1969. And from 1969 to here is hardly 50-something years, right? So it's compressing. And in just around about 25, 27 years, we're moving into what I would say we're sleepwalking into the fifth industrial revolution. And it's in this context that we're now looking at e-government, because you're now having 5G coming in, artificial intelligence at a different level. You're having the metaverse starting to come in, and a whole range of technologies that we can use to support e-government. But we have to get the fundamentals right, So if you look at this kind of framework, I always talk about it. If you want to make something happen, it's got to sit somewhere. It usually sits in a data center that has to have power. Then you have to have the interconnectivity right through to the end point. We're getting increased broadband penetration, but you don't need huge broadband to enable e-government, actually, to enable e-elections in an election year. You need reliable, consistent connectivity. And if you go beyond that, then you have all the middle bits that make all these things work together, and the endpoints and so on. And then you have all of the KPIs that you have at government, supported by security systems, people and processes, infrastructure, the logistics. Everything has to come together to enable e-business. Just very, very quickly, I mean, you're also seeing a growth in many things, number of devices per capita. It's going up from about 2.4 to 3.6. Connections per household going from 6.4 to 9. That's general global averages. But is that what's working necessarily in Africa? No, but the mobile telephone network is what is now predominant all over the world, and it's the same thing over here. Smartphones are now the predominant means of actually, connecting to the internet now. You still have PCs, but generally you find smartphones are the solutions. And if we can find those ways of optimizing those ubiquitous devices at the endpoint with the right level of biometrics and identity management and security, we would get that right. Virtual reality is something that's also coming. It's horses for courses. When you're in the village, you use certain tools. When you're in the city, people in the city can be much busier. So you need to use different technologies that will allow them to leverage e-business, e-technologies around elections. So you use a federated security as a cloud system to move to be agile. Lots of cloud solutions are around now. It's got to be on-prem, in country rather. But then the other thing is, like, does it have to always be in the country we're in? Just looking at an Africa perspective now, right? We could use solutions in, like, possibly if we had the right solutions globally across Africa. But what the problem we have multiple data sovereign rules across the whole of Africa. So if we now start to use, think about what's happening with AFCFTA, Africa-based open market, and so on, we can also have an open data relationship across all of the countries in Africa, which means, therefore, if just like they do in Europe or in the US, you have the same data protection regulations across the continent. It'll lift adoption of technology and enable countries to adopt technologies that will support e-government and so on across the continent. This is what's happening in Europe and what's happening in the US. If we're going to grow Africa, is one of the things that we're going to have to consider. Okay, so you know, there's a UN study that looks at the e-government and maturity of e-government. There's one, the 2022 survey is going to be coming out, just to highlight it to everyone here. If you want to see what our ranking is, the latest ranking for Nigeria, this thing is going to be launched later on this week, actually. Just something to look out for. And so thank you very much. Hope this gives some sort of perspective around e-government. It's not a short journey, it's a big journey, it's a big job. And it's not just necessarily what we're doing with technology here. We also need to give the Africa perspective to it. Thanks, and I hope you have a wonderful day at the conference, and I wish I could have been there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We apologize for the